And that is Alvin from Dr. Wealth, and Trump has won the election. So what's next for the market? I hope to give you some views for your reference. Should not be construed as financial advice. So one thing that is obvious is the debt issuance for the US government is going to go up much more than if Harris had won. And that is the projection. Under the Trump administration, the projection of the US debt will increase by 143%. If Harris had won, it will be up by 134%. So there is a 9% delta. So US is likely to go into a deeper debt in the Trump era. So Trump is also known to be favorable for tax cuts because he's pro-business, and tax cuts will be good for businesses because they get to keep more profits and reinvest back into their businesses. So tax revenue is also very important for the government, right? But if the tax cuts happen, that means that the blue line, which is the revenue for the US government, will start to fall. And at the same time, we can see the spending has always been persistently higher than the revenue, and therefore the deficit will widen if the spending don't come down. And hence the issuance of debt is necessary in order for the US government to have enough money to function. And that has caused the bond yields to go up for the US government bonds, right? So if we take a look at this yield curve, the longer term rates have been rising since a month ago, right? Although the short-term rates are falling because the Federal Reserve are the ones that's cutting the rates, and they can only control the short-term rates, but the long-term rates is determined by the markets. And if we see the long-term rates rising, it's consistent with what the narrative has been painting so far, which is Trump is going to issue more debt for the US government under the administration for at least the next one term, right? So this higher yields is to compensate for the higher risk, because if US have more debt, that means the risk of holding US bonds will be higher. So if we go back to the spending chart, right? So not just that he wants a tax cut, but he also wants to bring down the government spending. And I think that this is something that's very important. If US is really going to rein in and have some physical discipline, right? This is the time, okay? This is the move that he's going to make to finally bring down the red line. And that means that some of the savings will come in other areas, which we don't know where. But so one possible area is that I think Trump would want to hold more peace talks and conflicts, because this can help US save money. US have been supplying equipment, weapons, funding support for their allies in Ukraine, in Israel. So all this costs money, right? And again, Trump is a businessman. He will want to reduce this spending as much as possible. So I think that there may be more peace talks coming in 2025 and beyond, and we may see more peace actually around the world. And he is also creating a new department, and he's appointing Elon Musk as the Secretary of Cost Cutting. And the department now has a name. It's called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE in short. And Elon Musk is the head of this department. We are not going to talk about whether this is good for Tesla or whether it's good for Elon Musk. The idea about this is that I do think it's good for the US government, because Elon Musk have a track record of keeping things tight in Tesla, be very efficient about the production line, all this kind of thing. So he does have that ability, and I think that he is the right person to turn around and improve the government spending in this aspect. So we have to wait and see how effective his role will be going forward. But it is very critical in my view. And this DOGE happens to be the ticker for Dogecoin. Okay, and it's a crypto, and you can see that for the past 1 month, the Dogecoin has rallied 250%. And it's just because Trump has won and this DOGE department is forming. And I don't think this is a coincidence, because Elon Musk have talked about Dogecoin before in the past, and is quite a fan of it, and I think that he has a hand in naming this department. And in terms of the relationship between Doge, or this department, versus the Dogecoin, there is no relation except for the similar abbreviation. Other than that, actually there is no relationship. Okay, they are not going to use Dogecoin in the government transaction, so this is purely speculative. Another important aspect to know is that there's a trifecta situation where the Republicans have won the presidency, have taken the majority in Senate, and there's also a majority for the House of Representatives. And this means that the Congress is pretty much under Republicans' control, and the Congress will be able to make law with less resistance. So if the Republicans table something to Congress for approval, it is likely to pass through. And we know that last year, in order to pressure the government to save money, right, to budget properly and their fiscal discipline, the Republicans were forcing for a government shutdown. And this is where I think it will be effective, because now Republicans have the majority control and they can really turn up the threat of a government shutdown if the expenses are not reined in. And that may help Elon Musk do his job better as well. Okay, and on the interest rate front, Trump, again pro-business, will want lower interest rates. And he always felt that Jerome Powell, the current Federal Reserve Chairman, has not been cutting rates aggressively according to his expectation. And he also mentioned that he will ask him to resign and replace him with someone else. But technically or theoretically speaking, the Federal Reserve is not part of government. Okay, so Trump would have limited powers over whether Powell can be fired. But that said, actually the president is the one that appoints the Federal Reserve Chairman. Okay, so we will see what will happen. But I do think that Jerome Powell has been doing a good job. And so far, the US is still at the soft landing stage. Okay, so we haven't really seen a major recession, right? So I think he has steered quite well. Another expectation from Trump era is that there will be more trade tariffs and China will be the number one target, but not just China, but I think that Europe will also get it as well. Trump is not really an ideology guy, he is a businessman, okay? So whoever they can impose tariffs on, he would, just to favor American as much as possible. What about China, right? So I do think that China is going to be more prepared this time because they have lived through the first trade war with Trump, and now it's likely that they will have a tit-for-tat strategy. If Trump put up tariffs, China will do stimulus. Tariffs, stimulus. Okay, so I think there will be a ding-dong kind of relationship for the next 4 years. And also for Chinese companies, they started to diversify their supply chain outside of China. And things are made in India, things are made in Southeast Asia, things are even increasingly being made in Middle East. On the contrary, I do think that the Trump era is probably better for China this time round than the first. But tariffs will also bring about another issue, which is it will increase the cost of living in the US, because goods that really flow through into the US will cost higher for the people. And that would eventually lead to inflation. So I don't think that inflation may go up as high as before, but it may stay stubborn. That means it may not go much lower, right? We see it staying around 3% or so. It could sustain for a more longer period. And this may hamper the ability of the Federal Reserve to cut rates. Okay, so even if Trump wants to push for more aggressive cut rates, that may not happen because the inflation threat may not go away completely. So in summary, these are what we can expect for Trump 2.0: rising US debt while lowering government spending, more peace talks, less US spending in the military areas, more China and Europe tariffs may lead to stubborn inflation, and they may limit the rate cuts. And lastly, the overall arcing theme is that Trump is a pro-business person. Anything that favors America as a whole will be agreeable too. And that is also good for the stock market in general. Right? So I don't think it's a bearish sign. Right? I do get a sense that a lot of people feel that this Trump era may be very volatile, maybe very crazy things happening. That is possible, but generally I still think that it is going to be good for the stock market. Okay, pro-business is good for businesses, is good for stocks, and the rest of the world are more prepared this time around. So I hope you get the gist of what's going on. Okay, do give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.